Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a 991.2 Arena Red Porsche 911 Turbo S. This is one of my very good clients' vehicles, of which I coated over 3.5 years ago. And today we're going to be walking through a full maintenance detail on this thing. I've already knocked out the interior, but we're going to focus largely on the exterior of the car. This is such a special car, I figured I would just bring you guys along. It's not filthy, it's not really nasty, but it needs a good little wash because it's getting stored away for winter. So welcome back to the channel and let's jump into it. Well, I figure before we get into the action, this car is worth a little bit of a walkthrough. What an absolutely stunning spec. I'll show you through all of the little details on this. Paint to sample, Arena Red 991.2 911 Turbo S. And this thing is just an absolute beauty. So, of course, we're going to go through, clean up the wheels today. I haven't seen this car in a little while. So everything has been fully coated on this car, even the barrels, even all of the wheels, all the paint, glass, all of that fun stuff, as well as all the plastic trim. And like I said, that was 3.5 years ago. So you can see we got some general dirt and grime in here. We just need to kind of scrub this thing down. It needs some love. And for those of you who say that carbon ceramics don't produce any sort of dust, well, that looks like dust to me, doesn't it? So we'll be cleaning up the wheels. We'll talk about what we'll be using on that because, yeah, carbon ceramics, you definitely have a different type of brake dust on here, so we'll be cleaning that. Back here, I'm thinking it's probably just a little dusty. It's not really, like I said, that dirty of a car, but I figured it was important to walk you guys through a little bit of a maintenance detail, what I typically do, like if this was my own personal car, how I would clean it up on, you know, an every other week basis or when it actually needs a clean. And this car doesn't get driven a ton, but it's definitely got a little bit of miles on it. It's about 6,000 miles, which is definitely not a ton to say the least, but this customer likes to keep his car nice, and it's wintertime here in Colorado, and this is not a car that goes out on our roads. So we're gonna clean it up. It'll get back to his house and he can kind of store it away for the winter. Now I'm actually filming this New Year's Day, so first detail of 2026. No complaints here with a 911 Turbo S, and this is where the spec gets kind of crazy, is this interior. Every single thing in this interior is leather wrapped. It's truly insane. So you can see down here, you've got all the deviated stitching, all the extended leather, even the floor mats down here, the Porsche in leather deviated stitching. Back here, you can see on the back of the seats even, you've got all of the leather wrapped on the back, the whole back seat. I mean, this is just a crazy spec, and it's really, really beautiful car. I fortunately am able to get to drive vehicles like this. I picked this up at his house this morning and just cruised on over here. It's a stunning, stunning vehicle. So I've got it in neutral right now because the carbon ceramics here, as you can see, there is no room back there. So what we'll do is we'll clean this part of the wheel, then we'll roll the car back, clean the other part of the wheel. So that's always helpful if you're on a flat surface. Leave the car in neutral inside, then you can just push it back. But yeah, we'll get all this cleaned up. Again, nothing too terribly bad, just needs a little bit of love here. So we've got some bugs up front. We've also got full film on the full front end here. So I'm curious to see, it has literally been, I think probably about 9 months since I've seen this car. I don't know how long these bugs have sat on here. That's always my one concern with paint protection film. It will actually etch it pretty quickly. So we'll talk a little bit more about that once we get to that point. But it's one of those things with PPF, with anything really, you really need to go in there and get acidic bugs off because it'll actually cause some damage. But PPF seems to be a little worse. So let's quickly talk over here about what we're going to be using in terms of our soaps. So first off, of course, we're going to clean the wheels. We need a wheel bucket soap. I've been playing around with Adam's Megafoam. That'll make a little bit more sense in some upcoming videos. I can tell you we've got a new pressure washer up there on the wall, so stay tuned for that. We'll be playing around with it. So we're going to use Premise 2.0. from Labo Cosmetica as our pre-wash. I always like to do this pretty much when I haven't seen a car for a while. This is not something you need to use every wash, nor would I necessarily recommend it for every wash. This is an alkaline-based pre-wash, so typically you want to use a pH neutral soap. If the car's a little gritty, a little dusty, a little grimy, it's definitely going to need some more love. So we're not going to be using this at a crazy strength. You can use it 1 to 5 for winter dirt and grime, 1 to 10 for, you know, more general summer grime. I'm going to be using it somewhere in the middle. I'm going to use it 6 to 1. Reason being is we've got a very, very high flow pressure washer up there, so it's going to dilute it naturally a little bit more. If we used it at 1 to 10, it would basically produce no foam on there. And then we'll use in our MJJC Pro V3 over here, Adams Mega Foam. Again, playing around with pressure washer setups here, different orifice size, all of that fun stuff, using a couple ounces in here. Now, again, one of the big things with using something like Primus is we've got areas like this with some pretty nasty dirt and grime. So I want to get that off of the vehicle before I touch it, because we don't want to introduce any scratches into this beautiful arena red paint. But without further ado, let's get into the wheels. All right, for our wheel bucket here, we've got the Adams Mega Foam. We're going to get this in here. We'll get this filled up. All right, so we'll start here on the front wheel, and that's dirtiest wheels here on this particular car. Again, we've got carbon ceramics here, so there's no real reason to use any sort of wheel cleaner that has iron remover in it. So for a wheel cleaner, we're just going to be using Armor Detail Supply's Clean All-Purpose Cleaner. 10 to 1 dilution here, so very, very light. Honestly, with the coating on these, probably not going to need all that much, and then we're going to use their tire cleaner as well. So I like to, just because these are carbon ceramics here, we're going to rinse down the wheel first, rinse down all the wheel wells, spray our solution on, and then we'll also get our Adams Mega Foam on there to give us some sort of lubrication as well. Also, if you're working on a fully PPF'd car, you need to make sure you're very careful of those edges, not to hit them with that high pressure water in there. Can actually peel up that PPF. So we'll get a nice little saturation here on the tires, and we'll go in here with our all-purpose cleaner. We'll also hit in here. Nice. Love watching the coating there basically reject all of the snow foam. So we'll come in here with our Detail Factory tire brush. Always tricky to get this little lip inside of here without destroying wheels. So if you have gloss black wheels and a big lip like this, it can be a little not so fun, but we'll get her dialed. Next up, we'll take the Detail Factory big wheel face brush here. We'll try and get in all the spokes. Really nice that these are all rubberized on here, so you can see I'm hitting the spokes, but if that was a plastic, it could kind of scuff up, especially matte black and gloss black wheels. So not wanting to do that whatsoever for sure. This is a pretty darn special vehicle, and I wish you guys could see the spec sheet on this thing. I used to have a photo of it, but yeah, it's just crazy. The pages and pages of long different options that this car has. Pretty exceptional, honestly. I mean, I have not seen a 992 with or a 991.2 with a spec kind of this crazy. It was a pretty heavy build when this car came out, and like I said, been a very long time customer of mine, so I've maintained this car pretty much, not necessarily since new. He didn't get it coated right away, but I've been maintaining this car for a long time, and he finally was like, all right, let's get a paint correction, let's get this thing coated, and yeah, we'll get this thing really dialed, and it's been really easy for him to maintain. I mean, I maintain it mostly, but yeah, I haven't really seen this car in a little bit. So, taking the Rag Company little wheel mitt here, which is one of the best tools. I can't believe I had never used this. You can see you can actually use it as a little wheel mitt, or you can just hold it like I'm doing, but it's really, really helpful to get behind the spokes here, and not just using some cheap microfiber towel like I used to use. So I really, really like having this. And I just feel like gives me a very exceptional clean here on the wheels. Hit right around the center lock here. It's lovely having coated wheels with carbon ceramics because the wheels just, I mean, little to no effort. They were honestly probably 95% clean when I just rinsed them off without even scrubbing them down or anything like that. So yeah, really, really pleased with that. All right, we'll get our easy detail brush and just be very gentle in here around the carbon ceramics. So it'll help us get all the way into the barrels. And like I said, again, once we finish the other side, we'll come back to these front two wheels. We'll roll the car backwards so we can get this area behind the caliper. Otherwise, we would have an area that we totally missed. All right, we'll come in here with our fender well scrub brush. Not sure this is gonna work the greatest. Yeah, we got decent ride height on this Turbo S. Just gonna scrub down those plastic fender liners. Always, especially with carbon ceramics, you want to make sure you do a very thorough rinse on them and not leave chemicals just sitting there. But that's our clean wheel, so I'll go around, do the other three, then we'll roll the car back. I'll hit that area behind the caliper, and we'll get to our pre-wash on the rest of the car. All right, guys, so we've got our wheels fully cleaned, tires fully cleaned. Now it's time to grab Labo Cosmetica Premise 2.0. Again, 6:1 dilution ratio here. You're gonna see it's still a little bit runny. Again, still trying to figure out the pressure washer setup, but let's get this foamed on here. We'll let it sit, let it dwell, let it eat all of that organic material, all the bugs on the front, anything that is sitting on here. This will really help break that down, pull it off the surface before we do our contact wash. All right, just did another little layer here on the Turbo S, and it's really funny to see where the coating just rejects most of the soap. Now, again, this pressure washer setup I'm using here, it's a little bit runny. So your soap naturally is gonna be a little bit more watery. You can combat that going down an orifice size. We'll talk about that all a little bit later on, but it is very funny to watch it kind of react to areas like this. And the cool thing with Labo is the Premise 2.0 here, you can really see where the dirt is. It's where it really sticks like that. The cleaner areas, you can kind of see it reject it more. So it really sits there, clings on, starts to eat it away. You can see the whole back end here is pretty full of junk, but funny enough here, under the license plate, it's pretty clean. So it's not sticking on there quite as well. It's a really interesting thing. That's something I've learned with this this pre-wash here. It's pretty cool. So we're gonna let this sit. We're gonna let this dwell on here until it becomes to a point where it's time to rinse off. Now, using pre-washes, you need to be very careful using these in the direct sunlight. They can really tear some stuff up. So I would recommend always on a cool vehicle, always try to do it when you are, in the afternoon, have shade, something like that. If you're gonna do a pre-wash, it's always the best way to go. But we'll let this sit on here. We'll get our buckets ready. Now, I typically like using the 1 bucket method. So stuffing, 6 to 8 wash mitts in here and having that as my disposal. So basically you do 1 panel, flip it over, do the other half of the panel, boom, goes in the bucket, grab a fresh one, best way to not get a ton of contamination, bringing it back onto the vehicle. I personally think it's the safest way to wash your car and really the most efficient. All right, about time to rinse now. As you can see, these areas really starting to break apart now and dry. We don't want to leave that on there too long, so let's get our first initial rinse. Now time for our pH neutral Adams Mega Foam. All right, guys, now time for our hand wash. Man, the coating is super slick on this thing. Absolutely love it. And as you guys can see, with Mega Foam, pretty decent suds. It's still a little runny. That's just gonna be the thing with this pressure washer setup here. So definitely keep that in mind. Again, I'll be making my full review, talking about it a little bit more down the road. Want to give myself some time, if you will, to figure this unit out and give my full consensus. But it's been a little tricky. It's not been perfect, I'll definitely tell you that. So I just discarded that wash mitt. Now we can go straight to the front end here. Yes, this is all PPF, but still, it's always nice to just clean with clean, right? There's no sense in cleaning with dirty. That really makes next to zero sense to me. So I'm curious for you guys, if you're watching this video, what kind of content do you guys want to see in 2026 from me? Do you want to see more reviews, more how-tos, a little bit of a mixture of everything? Let me know. It's always a challenge with YouTube to know what you guys want to see. I was definitely late to the party, if you will, on a few things this year. You know, the Active 2.3, some other pressure washer reviews, but I think it's important for me to see as a professional detailer what you guys are actually using at home, because I realize not everybody can afford a Krenzla. Not everybody can afford an AR 630 or a 635 or any of that stuff. So it's been cool to actually play around with it. I'll tell you guys already, this year is starting out busy. I've got lots going on, so just quick little maintenance on this Turbo S. You guys are sitting right next to a Lucid Gravity, actually, that has been here for around a month or so. My friend Eric from Drive Protected came down and did a full stealth PPF on that. I haven't actually put out the full video on that, so still need to edit that. It's just been kind of chaos here. I'm also working on a coating series with my personal Kia EV6, where we're taking 10 different ceramic coatings on the paint and coating it. We're also doing the same with the glass. We're going to be using different coatings on that. I've already published the video on the wheels. Man, been busy. Thought I was gonna have some time off here over the holidays, but turns out, nah. I like working. I don't really like sitting around, and like making content for you guys. So it's a pretty easy win-win for me. And yeah, I just always really enjoy staying busy. I'm just not one to sit around and do nothing. Like, I think torture for me is actually sitting on a beach chair at the beach. I would rather be working, to be totally honest with you. So after I finish this car today, like I said, the gravity, I still got to do some work on that thing. Actually, my friend Eric is coming back down to replace 2 panels he wasn't happy with. He ran out of film when he was here, so he is flying back down here. On the 6th, he'll be here. And then I actually got a road trip, that Lucid, down to Alabama. And on top of that, while I'm down in Alabama, I am detailing a Lucid Sapphire. So stay tuned for that content. Then immediately when I fly home, I actually have to do a GT500. We've got a Audi e-tron. No, it's the S6 e-tron. I don't remember the name. The new Audi electric sedan situation. Got to do one of those when I get back. And then, I don't know. Lots of stuff going on here. So already busy start to the year. Wouldn't have it any other way, to say the least. I love working and love making content for you guys. So again, let me know what kind of content you want to see from me this year. Anything that I've missed. Any questions you may have about detailing that I can make some videos on how-tos or whatever. Very happy to make content. Very open to listening to what you guys want to see. All right, guys, so we have hand washed the whole car now. Went through, got everything dialed. Nice, safe wash. Coating feels super slick. So now time to do our final rinse, then we'll get into our drying. So doing our final rinse here, what do you guys think of how the coating's doing? You'll kind of see it sheet a little bit in areas. It is just so much water. Again, 635 over 3 gallons per minute is crazy, but really, really happy with how this coating's looking. Dang, absolutely love it. Oh man, all those nice tight beads on here looking good. So let's get this thing dried. I'm gonna be playing around here with Armor Detail Supply's Amplify. Been really actually liking this. And then we've also got the Rag Company Liquidator Color Burst. And if you don't know about these, essentially the Liquidator, but in different various colors. Now, the interesting thing is these have actually been discontinued currently. So I purchased these because the Rag Company was not happy with the dyeing process, I believe is what happened. And essentially what they said was it's about 20% less absorbent than they expected it to be. Now, I have actually noticed on coated cars, it's perfectly fine. But when you have cars that are, you know, have nothing or no protection on them and they're just completely flooded with water, you're just pushing water around. So I think it's really, really awesome that the guys over there are just literally refunding everybody who bought these, and they're going back to the drawing board to figure out how to make these better. So huge shout out to the rag company for just being an honest company. You really don't see that a lot of times. And yeah, completely unprompted. I hadn't even used them yet, and I got an email that said I was refunded, and yeah, they told me they just weren't happy with the performance. But as you can see there on a coated car, really no difference. Just when you have a lot of water that's flooded on the panel, they really don't work that well. It's always fun on areas like this on the Turbo S here to get everything dry. Just so many nooks and crannies. So I typically come around here, you know, with my preferred drying towel. Again, Liquidator is really one of my favorite drying towels. The Color Burst, definitely not, just because of the issues they've been having. But for coated cars, I see little to zero issue with it. But after the fact, when I do this, I'll come back with the blow car dryer, get all those nooks and crannies, all the little grills, all of that stuff blown out. And yeah, really like doing that. It's filtered, heated air. I personally like that way, way, way more than just using like a leaf blower like a lot of people use. Yeah, I just find those a little cumbersome, but really picks up water nice. But again, you can still see in here just water everywhere. So when I go drive this car back to my customer's house, last thing I want all this to do is drip out of the car. Then it's going to attract some dirt and dust. Then I'm going to have streaks down the car. That's not fun. So I spend quite a bit of time here on these maintenance details, making sure all of that is blown out of the car. If the car is sitting here, your main areas like your mirrors are probably good to blow out, and like this stuff, you just want to keep it off all the gloss black so you're not leaving any mineral deposits. That's the big deal, but you don't necessarily need to go crazy if you're just drying the car and parking it. It's more for when you're, you know, going on a drive, but it'll continue to just dry here. So the Arena Red, like I said, again, just absolutely glowing here. So I'll finish this up. We'll talk about a few other areas such as door jambs and quickly hitting the windows, and that's our maintenance wash. We are looking really, really good here. That Arena Red absolutely popping now, just looking spectacular. So a couple of things I want to point out here. Wheels. Look how beautiful, nice and clean those are. Still a few little water drops on there. Still have to go around as this continues to drip. Now for maintenance details here at the shop, I like to keep the cars after I'm done for at least an hour just to check any of the areas. So again, some of these areas like mirrors here, you can sit here and blow dry this for 5 minutes. You just kind of have to let it work its way out. So then come back and wipe that up. It's quite annoying. But wheels came out amazing. Again, literally just using an all-purpose cleaner. Most people just go too crazy on things, especially when you have a coated car. You don't need to break out a sledgehammer to actually clean wheels like that. And I think most people just, yeah, inevitably end up, you know, destroying their coated wheels because they're using, you know, very heavy alkaline based wheel cleaners or acid wheel cleaners or whatever, when most of the time you can just use a nice all-purpose cleaner. Heck, you can even just use the pH neutral shampoo, rinse the wheel off, foam it down, go in there, scrub it, and it's going to look pretty darn good. I just wanted a little extra cleaning power. Couple other things of note here. All of the trim is looking spectacular. I haven't touched this other than just cleaning it. Again, coated for the last 3.5 years. All the areas like this completely hand coated, everything back here as well, fully coated, and just looking really nice. Really awesome to have that UV protection on there. Always very much helps. Now, I also mentioned I was going to talk about the PPF up front, and this is a car, if you guys don't know me, or if you do know me, you'll know I'm not a huge fan of PPF. On a car like this, it makes a ton of sense. This is, you know, was over a $250,000 car. You've got, you know, paint to sample on here, very hard color to match. Put all the PPF you can on it. I think that makes sense. But I also don't think it makes sense to say that PPF is 100% perfect. And I think a lot of people are not honest with it. And again, one of the things is a lot of people put PPF on their vehicle to avoid rock chips. Well, PPF still rock chips. So you can see right there, that's a big old rock chip. That's another rock chip. That's another rock chip. That's another rock chip. So you will get rock chips on vehicles. And the PPF here, what ends up happening when you get that chip, basically tears it up. You'll see that white mark right there that I can see standing from 5 feet away. You're still going to get rock chips. Now, the nice thing is, of course, it protects the paint underneath. But on the flip side here, you also have quite a bit of stuff like this. You can see all of these bug stains are permanently etched into the paint protection film. So in order to fix that, the rock chips, now you got to strip this all the way off. Now you got to put a fresh piece on there. So on a car like this, it makes sense. If you're driving around, you know, in a Tesla, in a Rivian, something like that, that is just a depreciating, I shouldn't say asset because it's a depreciating liability essentially. I just don't really think the juice is necessarily worth the squeeze there, because there are still drawbacks, and you also get some drawbacks of film actually pulling up. Like you have stuff like this on the mirror, which just looks absolutely terrible. You can see the edge there completely lifting. That type of stuff is something I wish a lot more people would talk about and just be honest with their customers instead of completely lying and saying this stuff is completely bulletproof. There are always pros and cons to everything, but again, on a car like this, I think it's very worth it. So last couple of things here I want to do is we need to get door jambs. You can see still leaving a ton of soap in there. So what I'll do is grab something like Adapt here or Amplify, a waterless wash, whatever you want to use here. Mist it down, pick it up with a fresh clean towel so you're not leaving all this to completely water spot. Larry Cosilla at Ammo NYC called this kind of the armpit of the car, and a lot of this just gets completely forgotten. So on maintenance details, every single time I wash the car, I'll go through, clean out all the door jambs, completely dry them, the fuel cap, underneath the front trunk here on this car, engine bays, things like that. It's really, really important to do so that it doesn't, you know, just stay there. So very straightforward to do that. Spray it down, wipe it away. The last thing I like to do, which I'll show you because these are a nightmare to actually film, I'm just like in the way the whole time, is to just hit the glass. So I'll probably hit it with Built Hamber Traceless here. I've already done all the interior glass. Getting back here with Traceless, you can see the glass already looks crystal clear, but with glass you want to make sure it's absolutely perfect. So I'll hit that, and then we just got to let this dry. We'll throw some tire dressing on here, CarPro Pearl, the best tire dressing on the planet, so that it's not slinging all over the car when I drive the car back to the customer. But let's get these door jambs done, and we'll also hit the glass. Just want to show you this before we clean up all the windows, but just spend a little bit of time. I spent 5 to 10 minutes going through all the door jambs here, front trunk, stuff like that. Fuel door, just go through, clean all this. So next time my client goes to get gas, everything is clean. There's not dirt, there's not water spots in there. And then underneath the front trunk, all of this area, I actually ceramic coat under here. So, you know, it gets a bunch of water, gets a bunch of dust under here because there's no seal here in the front trunk area, and I just come back in after a wash, wipe everything down, and it looks absolutely perfect. So a lot of 911s I work on just have water spot central up here because most people don't take the extra 5 to 10 minutes to open up the front trunk, dry everything. Meanwhile, most people are just leaving mineral deposits under here, and that's just the way it should be presented. You open up the door here, you can see just perfectly clean, just like the outside, all the way into the jambs there. Everything just looks nice, tidy, no water spots, no dirt, grime. Open up areas like underneath, I guess, the hood here technically, and just clean all this up. So anytime my client opens this, everything's looking fresh, no water spots, no dirt, no grime. And that's how I do maintenance details. They're really, you know, every time I wash a car is kind of like a mini detail. I'm, especially when we're focusing on the exterior of the vehicle, kind of hitting everything. I just really, really dislike washing a car and then leaving all this stuff just soaking wet. Next time you open it up, it's just filthy, it's grimy, it's got water spots. Then you got to remove those water spots. It just makes no sense. So that's what I do here. Spend the extra time. Don't get into detailing if you're lazy. Do it right or don't do it at all. So let's finish up with the glass. All right, last little thing I like to do here is hit all the glass. So I'm gonna bring the wiper up to make sure we're cleaning this area, which will hold a lot of mineral deposits, water spots. Grab my Built Hamber Traceless, mist it on here. I've got my Rag Company FTW, one of the best towels for cleaning glass. Boom, gonna wipe this down. Honestly, you don't even really need to flip it, but you can flip it. And boom, you're good to go. So on the side glass, couple things that happens, you'll naturally get some water here at this lower edge. So I always like to start by opening the door up here, and we're gonna spray this, just a little mist on here. I always like to fold over, get the whole edge of the window. I'm gonna work this in. Flip that, make sure everything's dry up here, completely lint free. Boom. And then I'll actually come through, close that glass, and then I'll hit that bottom edge, knowing that I'm not going to open this door up again. Boom, all that water, the mineral deposits completely gone. I can just finish the rest of the glass. And just like that, folks, we are finished up here with the 911 Turbo S. And yeah, this thing came out really, really nice. Expected nothing less, this being a coated car and not really that filthy, but everything came out almost perfect. I mean, it looks fantastic for, I don't even know how old this car is at this point, but definitely has a few years on her now. So really, really enjoy doing these nice little maintenance details. This is something I pretty much frequently do on a weekly basis with my personal cars, just wiping the interiors down, giving them a nice hand wash, going through, dialing in the wheels, just cleaning things. It just helps so much instead of having to do this big massive detail every 6 months, every year, whatever it is. And yeah, looking really, really sharp here. So cleaned up all the wheel wells, put some tire dressing on, wheels look incredible, glass is perfectly dialed in, interior's perfectly dialed in. Man, this thing's ready to go. It's gonna sit for a little bit longer before he drives it next time, of course, because it is winter here in Colorado. So let's get this back to him. And yeah, first detail here already done in 2026 by pretty much midday. So lots of fun content coming from you guys, or for you guys. Let me know what you want to see. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2026.